Howdy, folks. I'm Fair and Wise. Thanks for joining Consuelo and Ethan on today's episode. We're pretty sure you'll find it interesting. While you're watching, please take a moment to like our video and make a comment. Also, if you're not already, please subscribe to our channel and click the notifications bell to make sure you're informed when we release each new episode. Now, let's get on with today's program.
All right, let's get those brains fired up because today we are going deep into the world of Collins Black treasure hunts.
Ooh, exciting.
I know, right? We're talking about actual buried treasure chests, crazy cryptic clues, and you need some serious brain power to solve these things.
Yeah, these hunts are not for the faint of heart. You got to be on your A game mentally.
That's for sure. And luckily, we've got a guide to help us navigate this mental obstacle course, and it's called...
Let me guess.
Go for it. Cognitive Cartography.
Yeah.
A hunter's guide to decoding Collins Blacks. There's treasure inside.
You got it. What's so fascinating about these hunts is that they're not just about luck, like stumbling upon the right spot with a metal detector. It's like they're designed to really challenge you, like psychologically, intellectually, and even technologically.
Oh, yeah. It's like a full-on mental workout, almost like a mental triathlon.
Exactly. And the guy even talks about this thing called neural optimization, which basically means using your brain's own reward system to your advantage.
Yeah, hacking your brain to find treasure. Okay, I got to know more about this. Break it down for me. How does our brain's reward system play into finding a treasure chest?
It all comes down to dopamine, that chemical rush we get when we accomplish something. And Collins Black's hunts use a tiered reward system that's like perfectly designed to trigger those dopamine hits at just the right time.
So it's like leaving a trail of dopamine breadcrumbs leading you deeper into the hunt.
You got it. Think of it like this. Finding that first clue, maybe it's a map tucked away in some dusty old library, gives you that little surge of dopamine. And that motivates you to tackle the next challenge, which might be deciphering a code hidden in, like a Shakespearean sonnet or something.
Wow.
And every step of the way, your brain is getting rewarded, which keeps you engaged and keeps you pushing forward, towards that ultimate goal of finding the treasure.
That's pretty genius, using our own biology against us.
It's all about playing the game.
So the guide mentions this thing called tripartite cognitive load management, which, to be honest, sounds a little intimidating. So can you tell me what that's all about?
It sounds super complicated, but it's actually pretty simple.
Okay.
It just means that Collins Black designs his puzzles to challenge you on 3 different levels, like linguistic, spatial, and numerical. So it's like he's hitting you from all angles.
So it really is like a mental triathlon. You got to be good at words, spatial reasoning, and numbers. It's the full package.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you give me an example of what each of these layers might look like in a puzzle?
Okay, so for linguistic, imagine you find a word search. Seems pretty normal, right? But once you solve it, you realize there's more to it, and the letters that weren't part of the main solution, they actually spell out a hidden message.
Ooh, sneaky.
Right. Could be a line from a poem or something that gives you the next clue.
So it's like a puzzle within a puzzle, and spatial challenges. What are those like?
Think like anagrams, but with the twist.
Okay.
So you might find these jumbled letters, and at first glance, they look like total gibberish, but then when you view them under a UV light, boom, they reveal a compass direction.
That's so cool.
Right. And that points you to the next stage of the hunt.
I'm starting to see how these hunts really make you think outside the box. You got to be creative.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So what about those numerical puzzles? What might they involve?
They often involve converting coordinates, but it's not your typical GPS stuff. It might require using a specific type of calculation, like something a little more obscure. And the challenge is figuring out which method to use.
So it's not just about knowing the answer. It's about knowing how to even get to the answer in the first place.
You got it.
Sounds like Collins Black really wants to make sure you've earned that treasure.
Oh, yeah, he definitely does. But remember, it's all about those dopamine hits along the way.
Right. Keep us motivated.
Exactly. So it's like he's pushing you to your limits, but still making sure you're having fun while you're doing it.
It's like he's crafted this mental obstacle course, and it's testing you, but it's also like exhilarating and exciting.
It is. It's a real adventure.
Okay, so we've been talking about all this brain power, but are there any physical challenges involved in these hunts?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, there's a whole section in the guide dedicated to geospatial warfare, which basically means using technology and terrain analysis to your advantage.
Okay, now geospatial warfare, that sounds pretty serious. What kind of tech are we talking about here?
We're talking Lidar, GIS, even stuff like augmented reality headsets.
Wow, so high tech.
Yeah, all this stuff allows you to analyze the landscape in insane detail, like looking for the tiniest little clues that might point to a treasure location.
Hold on. AR headsets for treasure hunting. That sounds like something out of a movie.
Yeah, it does sound kind of futuristic, but it's becoming more common in treasure hunting. Imagine being able to overlay a 3D model of a historical map onto the actual terrain
Oh, wow.
right in front of your eyes.
That's incredible.
That's what these headsets can do. They reveal all these hidden features and patterns that you wouldn't be able to see otherwise.
It's like having X-ray vision for the landscape. That's amazing.
It is pretty cool.
Okay, but let's talk about Lidar for a second. I've heard of it, but I don't really get how it works or why it's so useful for finding treasure.
So Lidar, it's basically a laser-based mapping technology,
Okay.
and it creates these super detailed 3D maps of the terrain.
Okay.
But the cool thing about it is that it can, see through stuff. It can penetrate vegetation and see through dense foliage, revealing things that would be hidden in a regular aerial photo.
So it's like peeling back the layers of the landscape, revealing all these secrets that have been hidden for, who knows, maybe centuries.
Exactly. The guide even suggests overlaying historical maps with current LiDAR data.
Oh, wow.
And that can reveal things like old eroded trails, collapsed structures, even just subtle changes in vegetation, all of which could point to a hidden treasure spot.
It's like being a digital archaeologist. That's amazing. Using technology to find clues from the past.
It's pretty amazing.
But all this tech, it must get expensive. Is this something that only, serious, well-funded treasure hunters can do?
Not necessarily. Some of the high-end stuff can get pricey, but there are also tons of free and open source resources available, like QGIS, which is a powerful geographic information system that you can use to analyze LiDAR data.
Oh, cool.
And even just Google Earth can be surprisingly helpful for scouting out potential treasure spots.
So it's about being resourceful.
Yeah.
Being creative with the tools you have available.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that makes these hunts so appealing. It's not just about brute force or having the most expensive gear.
Right.
It's about using your smarts, your creativity, and your problem-solving skills to overcome these challenges and outsmart your rivals.
Because let's be honest, there is a competitive aspect to these hunts.
Oh, definitely.
It's not just you against the clock. It's you against all these other treasure hunters who are after the same prize.
For sure. And the guide even addresses this in a section called The Prisoner's Dilemma.
Oh, interesting.
Which is this classic game theory problem that explores, the whole tension between cooperating and competing.
Okay. How does the prisoner's dilemma play into a treasure hunt?
So imagine you found a vital clue, something that could lead you straight to the treasure.
Okay.
Do you share it with the other hunters, knowing that it might help them, but it could also mean more competition for you? Or do you keep it a secret, hoping to gain an advantage, but also risking that you might miss out on crucial information that others have?
That's a tough call. It's like, do you be a lone wolf or join the pack?
Exactly. And there's no right answer. It depends on your risk tolerance, your personality, and the specific hunt you're in.
Right.
But the guide offers some strategies for navigating this dilemma, each with their own risks and rewards.
This is fascinating stuff. I mean, we've covered so much already, from dopamine to LiDAR to the prisoner's dilemma. It's mind-blowing.
It's a lot to take in.
I have a feeling we've only scratched the surface of this world.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely more to come.
There's so much more to explore.
Absolutely.
So much more to uncover about these Collins Black treasure hunts.
Yeah. And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to go even deeper. We'll talk about cryptanalysis secrets, like deciphering codes hidden in everything from Shakespeare to Bitcoin transactions.
Oh, that sounds intense.
And we'll even explore the idea of legacy engineering, which is all about leaving your mark on the treasure hunting world.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it is, leaving something behind for future generations.
I can't wait to dive into all of that. It sounds like we're just getting started on this incredible journey.
We are. There's so much more to come.
It's a mental adventure.
For sure.
All right, well, we'll be back soon with more of our deep dive into the world of Collins Black treasure hunts, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Have you ever felt the chill of a secret waiting to be uncovered? A whisper calling from a locked chest? I'm Sable, and this is The Curious Mind. We delve into mysteries hidden in plain sight. For every amateur treasure hunter chasing John Collins Black's legendary "There's Treasure Inside" chests, I invite you into a world where each clue unlocks the impossible. What draws us to the hunt? It's a tantalizing blend of neuroscience, game theory, and thrill of the chase. The Curious Mind explores the brain's craving for puzzles, strategies that turn chance into victory, and the heart-pounding pursuit that keeps you up at night. It's a story of wits and wonder, treasures not of gold, but of knowledge. Ready to fuel your curiosity? Join me on A Gypsy's Kiss on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe now and catch new episodes of The Curious Mind every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Step into the mystery because the treasure isn't just out there, it's inside you.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Collins Black treasure hunts.
It's amazing how these hunts just pull you in, with history and tech and psychology. It's like a giant puzzle waiting to be solved.
It really is. And speaking of puzzles, remember we talked about those cryptanalysis secrets?
Yeah, the code-breaking stuff. It sounds like you need some serious skills to crack those.
Oh yeah, Collins Black, he's known for these intricate ciphers, and he often layers different methods on top of each other.
So it's not just one code, it's like codes within codes.
Exactly, and he'll hide clues in plain sight, like using lines from Shakespearean sonnets as part of a code.
Shakespeare and secret codes, that's such an unexpected combination.
I know, right? Like, who would think to look there?
Can you give me an example of how that might work?
Okay, so let's say you find a clue that mentions Sonnet 18, line 5.
Okay.
Now that line, it might seem totally unrelated to the hunt,
Right.
but it's actually part of the code, and you'd have to figure out how to convert that line number, or maybe even the words themselves, into something else.
Like a numerical sequence or coordinates.
Exactly. It's like a literary treasure hunt within a treasure hunt.
Oh, that's so clever. My brain hurts just thinking about it.
And he doesn't stop there. He also uses cryptocurrency in his puzzles.
Really? Cryptocurrency, how does that even work?
So the guide talks about wallet archaeology, which is basically tracing Bitcoin transactions to find hidden clues.
Okay, hold on. Wallet archaeology, that's a new one. How do you excavate a digital wallet?
Well, it all comes down to the blockchain, that public ledger of all Bitcoin transactions.
Right.
Collins Black, he uses specific Bitcoin transactions to embed clues. Like, he might make a transaction for a very specific amount of Bitcoin.
Okay.
And that amount, when you convert it into a different unit, might reveal a date or a set of coordinates.
So it's like following a trail of digital breadcrumbs, except the breadcrumbs are made of Bitcoin.
That's a great way to put it.
What kind of tools do you need to do this kind of wallet archaeology?
There are these blockchain explorers like Blockchair that let you track Bitcoin transactions and analyze the data.
So you can see where the money is going.
Yeah, you can even set up alerts to notify you when specific transactions happen.
So you can stay ahead of the game.
Exactly. You got to be quick in these hunts.
It sounds like you need to be like a tech whiz and a history buff all rolled into one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Collins Black's puzzles draw from all sorts of disciplines. You might need to know about ancient history 1 minute and then be deciphering a complex mathematical algorithm the next.
It's like he's created his own intellectual decathlon.
It is. It's a real challenge.
Okay, so let's go back to the prisoner's dilemma for a second. That whole cooperation versus competition thing.
Right.
How does that actually play out in these hunts?
So imagine you've discovered something huge, like the location of a hidden map or something.
Okay.
Do you keep it to yourself, hoping to beat everyone else to the treasure? Or do you share it with the community, knowing that it might help everyone, but it also means more competition?
Oh, that's a tough choice. It's like, do you trust the other hunters or do you go it alone?
It is, and there's no easy answer.
Right.
But the guide, it offers this strategy called data titration, which is basically finding that balance between sharing enough to collaborate, but not so much that you lose your advantage.
Data titration, that sounds like a delicate dance.
It is. You got to be careful not to step on anyone's toes.
Are there any other ways to deal with this dilemma?
The guide suggests something called blind bounties, where you offer a reward for solving a specific piece of the puzzle without revealing the context.
Oh, interesting.
So you're tapping into the collective brain power of the community without giving away too much.
That's sneaky, but smart.
You gotta be strategic.
Okay, so we've talked about all this high-tech stuff, but what about the actual searching for the treasure chest? Is there any physical element to that?
Oh yeah, that's where those geospatial warfare skills come in.
Right.
It's about using your knowledge of the terrain, map reading, and even stuff like soil composition to narrow down your search area.
So it's like being a real-life detective.
It is. You got to be observant, notice the details that others might miss.
The guide even mentioned that Collins Black prefers to bury his chests on slopes with specific inclinations, like between 5 and 15 degrees.
Yeah, that's to prevent erosion. Steeper slopes would wash away the treasure over time.
It's amazing how he thinks of everything.
He does. He's very meticulous.
Okay, let's talk about the mental game for a second. How do you actually train your brain for these kinds of challenges?
Well, one of the key things is something called micro-reward priming, which is basically breaking down a complex task into smaller chunks and rewarding yourself for each milestone.
So it's like giving yourself those little dopamine hits along the way to stay motivated?
Exactly. You got to keep that momentum going.
Makes sense. What else do the guide suggest?
It also emphasizes delayed gratification, which might sound counterintuitive.
How so?
Well, it's about resisting the urge to jump right into solving a puzzle as soon as you find a clue.
What?
It actually says that taking a break, even a short nap, can help your brain process the information and make new connections.
So sometimes stepping back can actually help you move forward.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between effort and rest.
Right. You don't want to burn yourself out?
Definitely not. And that's why the guide has a whole section on behavioral countermeasures. It's about being aware of those psychological traps that can mess you up.
Like what, for example?
Well, one of the big ones is the sunk cost fallacy, which is that tendency to keep investing time and energy into something even when it's clearly not working.
Oh, I've definitely been there. It's like, I've come this far, I can't give up now.
I know, right? But sometimes you got to cut your losses and move on.
So how do you avoid falling into that trap?
The guide suggests setting pre-commitment contracts with yourself, like maybe even getting a friend involved for accountability.
Oh, interesting.
Like you could say, if I spend more than X amount of time on this one clue, I'll donate money to my rival or something.
Wow, that would definitely make you think twice.
It's about having a system in place to keep yourself on track.
What other psychological pitfalls does the guide warn about?
It also mentions the IKEA effect, which is our tendency to overvalue things we've created ourselves.
So, like, if you spend hours building a bookshelf, you might think it's worth more than it actually is.
Exactly. And in the context of a treasure hunt, this could mean overestimating the value of a clue you found just because you put in the effort to find it.
So you got to stay objective. Don't let your emotions cloud your judgment.
That's right. It's all about keeping a clear head.
This is all so insightful. It's like we're getting a crash course in both treasure hunting and, like, self-awareness.
Well, that's what's so great about these hunts. They're not just about the treasure. They're about the journey, the personal growth, the challenge.
Speaking of journey, I want to hear more about this legacy engineering thing, leaving your mark on the treasure hunting world.
Yeah, it's a really cool concept. It's about recognizing that you're not just playing the game, you're becoming part of its history. And you want to make sure future generations of treasure hunters get to experience that same thrill of the chase.
So it's about giving back to the community, making the hunt even better for those who come after you.
Exactly. The guide suggests adding things to the treasure chest that will enhance the experience for future hunters.
Like what kind of things?
It could be anything, like a journal detailing your experiences, or a cryptic clue pointing to an online resource, or even just a small object that symbolizes your journey.
I love that idea. It's like passing the torch to the next generation.
Yeah, it's a way to connect with those who come after you.
And the guide also suggests using technology to create a lasting legacy.
Right. It talks about this thing called geochain verification, which is basically embedding information about the treasure's location and history on the blockchain.
So even if the physical treasure is gone, the knowledge of it lives on forever.
Exactly. It's like digital immortality for the treasure hunt.
It's amazing how these hunts blend the real world with the digital world.
It's truly unique.
This whole idea of legacy really highlights how these hunts are about so much more than just the material reward.
They are. It's about the journey, the growth, the sense of community, and the legacy you leave behind.
Well said. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore even more of these themes. We'll talk about the predictive analytics dashboard and some contingency protocols.
Sounds like things are about to get really interesting.
I can't wait. I'm on the edge of my seat. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Colin's Black treasure hunts. And, I'm really intrigued by this whole idea of legacy that we touched on earlier.
Yeah, legacy engineering, it's a pretty unique aspect of these hunts.
It is. It's like you're not just playing the game, you're actually becoming part of its history.
Right, and every hunter who participates, they add to the story. They shape the experience for future hunters.
So it's not just about finding the treasure, it's also about what you leave behind for others to discover.
That's exactly it. And the guide really encourages us to think about what we would add to a treasure chest, to make it even more special for the next generation of hunters.
Like what would make their experience even better?
Right. And it could be something tangible, like a tool that you found super helpful during the hunt, or maybe something more symbolic, like an artifact that represents your personal journey.
Oh, I love that. Like passing on a piece of yourself.
Yeah, it's a really cool way to connect with those who come after you.
So what kind of specific suggestions does the guide have for creating this legacy?
Well, it mentions things like encrypted journals on USB drives, where you could require future solvers to use like 2024 era keywords to unlock them.
Wow, that's so cool. Like a time capsule of knowledge.
Yeah, imagine someone finding your journal years from now, deciphering your thoughts and insights. It adds another layer to the whole experience.
It really shows how these hunts are about so much more than just the treasure itself.
Definitely. And the guide even suggests using the blockchain to create a more permanent legacy.
Really? How so?
It's this thing called geochain verification.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about that.
It's basically where you embed a Bitcoin transaction, with the burial coordinates of the treasure in a way that gets recorded permanently on the blockchain.
So even if the physical treasure is lost, the knowledge of its existence lives on forever.
Exactly. It's like a digital footprint of the treasure hunt.
That's amazing. It's like achieving a kind of digital immortality.
It really is.
Okay, so before we get too caught up in the sentimental stuff, we have one more big topic to cover, and that's the predictive analytics dashboard.
Right, the data-driven side of treasure hunting.
Exactly. So this is all about using data to predict breakthroughs in the hunt, right?
Yeah, basically the guide highlights 3 key metrics to look out for, and those are Discord message velocity, wallet activity, and Lidar match confidence.
Okay, a lot of jargon there. Break those down for me. What do those actually mean?
So Discord message velocity, that's basically about tracking the volume and frequency of messages on those Discord servers dedicated to the hunt.
So, like, if there's a sudden surge in activity, that could mean something big is happening.
Right, it could mean a group of hunters is close to a solution.
Makes sense. What about wallet activity?
That's all about monitoring the Bitcoin transactions associated with Collins Black's known wallets.
So, like, if you see a lot of activity, especially transactions with those round number amounts we talked about, that could be a sign.
Yeah, it could mean someone's claiming the reward, they found the treasure.
It's like following the money trail and Lidar match confidence. What's that all about?
So that one measures how certain we are that a particular Lidar scan matches those abstract maps that Collins Black provides.
So if someone has a high confidence level, that means they've probably pinpointed a potential treasure location.
Exactly. They found a spot that really matches the clues.
So the idea is to look for those moments when all 3 of these metrics align, like a convergence of data.
Right, because that could mean a solution is near.
But how do you actually track all of this data in real time?
The guide suggests using a mix of tools, like Trello for project management, and then some specialized software for analyzing text and blockchain data.
So you can really stay organized and on top of things.
You've got to be. And you can even set up alerts to notify you when, certain thresholds are met, signaling a potential breakthrough.
Wow, that's next level treasure hunting, like having your own personal data analyst.
It is pretty advanced, but it gives you real edge in the game.
Okay, but even with all the data and the tech, I'm sure there are always unexpected challenges, things that throw you off course.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's where the guide section on contingency protocols comes in handy.
Right. So this is all about being prepared for the unexpected.
Exactly. Those black swan events that you can never really predict.
Like what kind of scenarios are we talking about here?
Well, one example the guide gives is like, what if your rivals catch wind of your progress and they're closing in on you?
Uh-oh, not good.
Yeah. So the guide suggests deploying a poisoned clue.
A poison clue. What's that?
It's basically a fake clue, but it's super convincing, designed to lead your competitors astray.
So it's like a strategic misdirection.
Exactly. It buys you some time and throws them off your scent.
Very clever. But the guide also stresses the importance of being adaptable, being able to think on your feet.
Oh, absolutely, because sometimes the best discoveries come from those unexpected detours.
It's a good reminder that these hunts are not just about following a set of rules. They're about embracing the unknown and being resourceful.
Couldn't agree more.
This whole deep dive has been incredible. We've covered so much ground. The codes, the LiDAR, the psychology. It's mind-blowing.
It has been quite a journey.
So what's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember from all of this?
More than anything, I think it's that these hunts are about the journey, not just the destination.
Right, the experience itself.
Exactly. It's a chance to push yourself, learn new things, connect with other passionate people, and yeah, maybe even find some treasure along the way.
And as the guide reminds us, the real treasure lies in those neural pathways forged in pursuit.
Right. It's about the growth and the self-discovery that happens along the way.
So, to all you aspiring treasure hunters out there, stay curious, stay resourceful, and most importantly, enjoy the adventure.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's a wrap on our deep dive into cognitive cartography. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Well, folks, we hope you found today's video interesting and informative. Make sure to hit the like button if you did. Also, think about sharing it with another treasure hunter. And if you're not already a subscriber, please take a moment to do so now. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care, and remember, there's a treasure out there waiting for you to find it.